Here's the thing, you can only live on drive, the feeling of motivation and willpower for so long. It will run out. And when it does, what will drive you are your beliefs. Welcome to episode 2 of Designed and Delivered for Destiny. I'm your host, Nicole Cherie. I'm a wife, author, life coach, business owner, and speaker. I've been a mental health therapist for over 10 years, and now I want to bring the conversations from my office and bring it to you wherever you are. Each episode, we will discuss various topics related to your design, your deliverance, or your destiny. I'm going to assume that you are someone who wants God's best for your life, and perhaps you recognize that there are areas that you still want to grow in. You're probably not wanting to run someone else's race, but the one that God has laid out for you. I'm glad you're taking time out of your busy schedule to tune in. Let's jump on in. So last episode, we began to explore the known but often ignored truth that you have a specific calling on your life, and it takes your ongoing commitment for it to be fulfilled. This week, I would like us to begin to unpack how you perceive who you are and your unique design, and how your perception plays a significant role in your ability to fulfill your calling. I think we can all relate to that feeling of self-doubt when we are called on for a special assignment or challenged to go beyond our comfort zone. Or that feeling of anxiety when it's time to perform and everyone's watching. Maybe you can relate to the endless pattern of procrastination that keeps you from building healthy patterns of productivity. There is a reason why you've delayed that project you've dreamed of doing. More often than not, the reason is rooted in what you believe. Healthy beliefs lead to healthy patterns, healthy views of yourself, your abilities, and life in general. So when for you did your beliefs begin to change? Or have you ever truly had a healthy view of yourself? Can you remember being a child and believing in your abilities to take those first steps to walk? You know, that first time you grabbed that fork from your mom because you wanted to feed yourself? Or how about jumping from one bed to the next, even though there was a chance you would get hurt? You likely don't remember those moments, but there was something driving you even in the early stages of your life to fearlessly take action. That thing that was driving you was a belief. You believed you could walk, that you could feed yourself. You believed you could make it to the other side uninjured. What happened to that fearless, go forward, I believe it can be done no matter what attitude? How does a child go from a view of themselves as safe and happy and fearless to fearful, guarded, and seeing the world through a lens of limitation? How did it happen for you? I would imagine it was a variety of moments where the difficulties that came into your life without notice began to alter your perception. For some, it was the difficulty that comes with the loss of a parent at a young age. For others, it was maybe a parent with an addiction or relocating away from your support system. Perhaps you had a caregiver who was emotionally unstable and or absent. The circumstances of your external environment over the years altered the condition of your beliefs. The alteration was subtle at first, but over time it became a significant part of you. All those various experiences that you survived in your lifetime, big and small, those moments that you've suppressed, forgotten about, all of it has impacted what you believe about yourself, others, and the world. If we were to sit down and make a list, we could actually trace how every life experience you've had has altered something within you. Now you may be thinking, Nicole, that's just life. Everyone goes through something, but that does not define a person. And I agree that life is hard and it comes with a set of challenges that each person has to face at some point or another. What I'm suggesting is that you start considering, did those situations move you towards or away from internal peace, emotional stability, and a healthy view of yourself? Whichever direction it moved you in, it became a belief that until replaced, it is still influencing you today. Understanding this gives you power to choose to actively address the beliefs that are limiting you and robbing you from a level of joy that you can't even imagine. Now, throughout this process, what we are not going to do is look for who or what to blame, because that just keeps you stuck. In fact, the concept of blame is a trap that really only gives you a false sense of understanding and control. But what we are going to do is seek to understand how your childhood and adult experiences impacted you for the purposes of healing and moving forward. Now, I unfortunately can't sit down with every one of you to help you unpack your life story, but if you choose to do this work, I encourage you to talk with someone that can walk you through the process. Even if you think you've dealt with and healed from all the challenges from your past, it never hurts to talk to someone just to see and be sure. Now, we talked last episode about how your subconscious is very powerful and is driving many of your behaviors on a day-to-day basis. We discussed how your beliefs are housed in your subconscious, which means you're not just sitting around consciously choosing to procrastinate. You're not consciously choosing to make yourself anxious when asked to step out of your comfort zone. Your subconscious is doing the work for you. Now, I don't want to get too scientific-y today, although I would love to, because neuroscience is fascinating. But for now, let me just throw in what I believe are some interesting facts that we all should know, and hopefully will be helpful for you to understand why you're struggling to overcome either internal conflicts or maybe even mental health challenges. So yes, your subconscious is driving much of what you do. But more specifically, your lower half of your brain, which includes many parts like your limbic system and your amygdala, that is what is driving your instinctual behaviors. So that anxious sensation you feel in your body, it's because something in the lower part of your brain was triggered, and its job is to immediately put your body in an alert, fight or flight state. Its job is to protect you at all cost, even if the cost is your peace of mind. This part of your brain, it's not designed to know the difference between a real threat or the perception of a threat. So it can be triggered by any of your five senses: the smell of smoke in the house, or a loud sound, seeing someone angry walk in the room. Any of these can trigger your brain to instantaneously put you in a stress state so that you can protect yourself from that threat. Now, there are benefits to being in a fight or flight state when you're actually in danger. It's good that your body will have the adrenaline and focus to fight off the threat, or if needed, to run, or maybe to freeze so that perhaps you're not seen by that threat. So we thank God for this brain function that He's given us. Why is this important to know about this fight or flight reaction? Because if I had to guess, 95% of what is causing you to be in a stress state is not due to your life being in actual danger, but your brain perceiving situations as a threat to your life. You are likely being triggered to delay, to avoid, to worry, to fear, all because of perception. And without a doubt, that is going to negatively impact your ability to have a sound mind, especially the one that you need to fulfill destiny. This is where it gets even more interesting. Not only are you triggered through your senses, but also through what you're thinking. Thoughts are considered to, come from the upper part of the brain. So if you are sitting around thinking about something negative, that will send a signal to the lower part of your brain that something is wrong, and before you know it, your body is ramping up once again. Many of the thoughts that you have, they're rooted in a belief. And I'm going to actually talk more in depth about thoughts during a later episode, but I want you to think about which thoughts tend to trigger a fight or flight response in you. Your trigger could be the fear of failure or being misjudged, being misunderstood. having to speak publicly while having a learning disability, the thought of being rejected or being seen as weak. It can be so many things. Well, let's just imagine that someone grew up in an environment where they were constantly in survival mode. Perhaps the people around them were unpredictable. Maybe there was violence in the community. Maybe they were constantly told to watch out, be careful, be alert, all helpful things to survive. Well, that person's brain will be reactive, which will affect the way they interact with and see the world. That person has been focused on getting through those situations and everyone being a means to an end versus being able to plan ahead and strategize for success. Understandably, that person will either do their best to avoid stressful situations, all because of all the stress that they've had to feel for so long, or because they've normalized high stress, they may seek out high stress situations. This is common for many people. Perhaps you can relate to being in that place at one season in your life. Having to be in survival mode can be for many reasons. If this is you, the goal is for you to find a healthy rhythm in life where you are internally at rest and experience life through the lens of joy, hope, and expectation, where you can give the wheel of your life to God and you take a step back to seek wisdom on how to move forward in a healthier way. But listen, no matter if you're in survival mode or not, you don't want to allow the lower part of your brain to lead or dictate your life and beliefs. Now, please know that we will always need the lower part of our brain. We just have to do the work to ensure that we aren't living our lives from that place, but rather from a healthy subconscious and conscience. Now, let me pause and interject some good news. If you struggle with being reactive, anxious, angry, or living in survival mode, know that your brain is constantly changing. As you begin to heal and shift your beliefs about various experiences you've had in life, and you begin to engage in healthier patterns of behavior, your brain actually begins to heal itself. So it's no longer going to be easily triggered, causing you to constantly feel anxious or react with anger as quickly. I love telling people that when God says, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind," it's a very literal process. As your thinking changes, your brain is rewired in a new way. As you heal from past trauma, past neglect, embarrassments, failures, your brain rewards you by making it easier to manage challenges in the future. It's much harder to manage being hurt, disappointment, and the challenges of life when you are stuck in your lower brain. So, to all my driven, goal-oriented listeners, I wonder if you are trying to be the best version of yourself so that you can do what the Lord has called you to do, but something keeps getting in the way. Has that been your experience on a regular basis, perhaps periodically? If so, it's possible that your willpower and your subconscious are at war. You take a step forward and you're excited, you feel motivated, you're making progress. Then all of a sudden, you begin to sabotage. You don't realize you're sabotaging, but you just find that you're not as consistent. You're not able to put the work in to build the right relationships. You're starting to make excuses. You begin to feel this inner feeling that tells you it won't work, you're not the right person, or you won't finish. Here's the thing, you can only live on drive, the feeling of motivation, and willpower for so long. It will run out, and when it does, what will drive you are your beliefs. Your beliefs create an environment within you for certain things to live. Anxiety needs a certain environment to remain. Depression, anger, insecurity, self-doubt, peace, patience, kindness, good, all of it needs a certain environment to remain. This battle going on within you can be won, and part of winning that battle is by doing the work to uncover what do you really believe? If I had to make a list of the top negative core beliefs that people carry, it would consist of I am not enough, I am not worthy, I am not capable, I am not safe, I am not loved, I will be rejected, I don't matter. And of course, the list goes on. This is a reality that has impacted so many of us for too long. God wants you to know who you are and to be confident in living your life on purpose, knowing that the goodness of God is going to help you and keep you the entire way. Please understand that what will make your journey difficult and perhaps even prevent you from finishing the race set before you is not taking the time to address the way you think and have been wired. I'm here to help those of you who have been crying out to God for help to break through the internal struggles that have held you back for too long. Those of you who are publicly successful but privately in pain. And those of you who desire to fulfill God's will and embrace the transformation process that He wants to take you through. Part of my design is that God gifted me with this very sensitive spirit and nature. However, I was raised by two loving but pretty tough individuals in an environment whereby you had to be tough to survive. So I was toughened up by those around me and the culture I was in. And I'm grateful for that toughening process because it definitely kept me alive and gave me the tenacity I needed to push through life and just overcome many challenges. However, in the past decade or so, God has undone much of that toughness and revealed to me why He designed me with a sensitive spirit and nature. He's shown me how to find my strength in Him and lean on Him for wisdom, protection, and discernment. How to let myself feel my emotions and know how to manage them in healthy ways. It's helped me to see myself and value my sensitivity differently. I see people through a new set of eyes and the world with a clearer lens. It took me some time to embrace my sensitivity, especially because we live in a hard world. I felt like I was having to learn to walk all over again. It was very uncomfortable and awkward for me at times, but now I love it. Quick story. I remember I was working at a foster care agency many years ago, and I was really just starting the process of being transformed from the old wineskin to the new. So I remember visiting with a foster parent for a usual check-in, or what the agency called family meeting. And the parent, she was doing her usual compare and contrast of why her approach was the best versus the agency's approach. Well, she eventually got to tell me in front of everyone there how I was soft and how the kids needed toughness. So, of course, my fight or flight immediately kicked in, and that energy you feel when you're upset, it was ever present and ready to handle the threat. But at that time, I was still half worldly, half transformed. So naturally something inside of me wanted to prove myself. But thankfully, God helped me to keep my peace and be professional. But it's funny because if someone were to say that to me today, it would be the greatest compliment. It would trigger me differently. There would be this sense of gratitude for all that God has done to deliver me from unhealthy layers of beliefs and behaviors, and to bring me to a place of meekness and gentleness and willingness to be soft in a hard world. Some of your beliefs that need to be transformed can simply be discovered by asking, what are the things that people can say or do that triggers me? One way to know that you've been transformed is when others can make fun of you for your areas of growth, whether it's your ability to be patient. You're so much more patient. You're more forgiving. You're more positive in your thinking, and nothing inside you feels triggered to prove them wrong. That, my friend, is true deliverance. So I'm going to keep asking you, what parts of your personality or design have been hidden under layers of life experiences? Your layers may look completely different. God may have designed you to be tough for maybe your assignment requires that. But there may be a layer of anger over top of that, or a layer of trauma and insecurity. Your layer may be that you stopped wanting to be beautiful because of the negative attention you received, and so now it's hard to maintain healthy eating because deep down your subconscious is fighting you, saying, what's the point? It's not safe to be beautiful. Perhaps you're hiding your powerful life story, which is the very thing that God wants to use to help others to be free, because you're carrying shame from unhealthy choices you've made. What parts of you are you still hiding? In my book, For Her to Know and Embrace Her God-Given Design, I talk about the power of observations and feedback. If you really want to know aspects about yourself that you've ignored or overlooked, become observant. Ask for feedback from people that you trust. I'm pretty sure there are probably many things that you've been complimented on, but you've dismissed over the years. Why is that? Now, here's where I'm going to challenge you a little bit. As you go through this process of exploring, if your responses to those questions are explanations or excuses, I want you to shift and start to take ownership. Yes, there was someone or something that contributed to your life, your beliefs, and your choices. But now you have the option to choose to continue to hide, choose to continue to stay stuck in that place, or to choose to come alive in every area of your life. You are now 100% fully responsible for your beliefs. So what is holding you back? Let me pause for a second, because I've been assuming that everyone knows that they deserve to be the best versions of themselves, but I know that's not true. So I want to speak to that person and let you know that no matter what you've gone through, what's been done to you, no matter what you've done to others, God still loves you. He believes in you and desires for you to fulfill all that He has sent you here to do. And please know that if you don't believe in yourself, there are people in the world like myself and many others that you may not even know personally, who are cheering for you and praying that you will get connected to the right people who can help you accomplish all that God has for you. So to all my listeners, what do you believe? As a man thinketh, so is he. I want to close out briefly discussing purpose. And when I use that term purpose, please know that there are general purposes that can apply to everyone. So a wife serves a purpose to her husband, a parent to her child, an entrepreneur to her team. Part of our purpose, as part of God's creation, is to be loved by Him, to enjoy the fruits of this life, to serve others. Those are general purposes. Many Christians get good at living out the general purposes of life, which is great. But are you living out your specific calling and the assignments that God has ordained for you in this season? If not, what belief is holding you back? You must know what beliefs you carry. And to be honest, it's not enough to just know, because we know a lot. We can often quote scriptures and tell people all the steps it takes to move towards our goals. But what is stopping you is what you believe. Your knowing is not what's driving your behavior. It's your beliefs. You know you are good enough. But why do you seem to avoid being seen in an authentic way? You know you would be good at managing people or singing, maybe acting, but what has stopped you? So for those of you that are really good at being purposeful in many areas of your life, I want you to keep in mind that living purposefully does not mean you are whole, and God wants you to be whole. Let's stop being busy trying to pursue a life that is seen as purposeful, and let's focus on allowing purpose to flow through us from a place of wholeness. You will be more satisfied, more effective, and able to run the race set for you from a place of joy. Remember, don't try to do any of this in your own strength, your own wisdom, or your own intellect. No matter how gifted and seasoned you are, He is the one that will do the transformation within you and position you to be where He desires for you to be and with whom He wants you to be with. But it does require your submission to allow Him to do the work in you and to shift you where He wants you to be. Allow yourself to commit to a lifelong process of transformation in His hands. I believe in you. You know, we are all connected. The stronger you become, the stronger the body of Christ becomes. The great part about how God does things is that, you know, He allows us to go through certain situations in life so that we can overcome them and help the next person to overcome as well. Let's do that for each other. You know, I don't want to reach down to where you are. I want to get down on my knees if you're on your knees, or on my face if you're on your face, and grab your hand and we will rise up together. But when you rise up, it's your turn to get back down and do that for the next person. And just keep this in the back of your mind. You don't have to be whole to help the next person. God can use you even as He's healing you. It's a process. Okay, so now is the time where we get to discuss a phrase, pattern, or belief that has been a hindrance to many in the culture, and if we eradicate it, it would improve your life, family, and the community.
It's chain breaking time.
The phrase for this week is, "She's just being dramatic." Now, I know what you're thinking, but she is. Here's the thing. Yes, there may be some exaggeration being added on as she's speaking. But if there is any truth to what is being said and it's dismissed, you just missed an opportunity for her to feel heard, seen, and significant. We have to learn to not focus as much on presentation, but focus on what's being said and what's not being said. People find ways to cry out and seek help in many different ways. Sometimes their fear of speaking up causes them to sound dramatic or over the top because they are speaking from a place of stress. They may actually even already believe that you're not going to believe them, so they intentionally say it a certain way to prove themselves right. Whatever the case might be, ignoring or minimizing their words can prevent someone from being protected, seen, and valued. So next time someone comes to you with information in a dramatic form, hear and address the words, then discuss presentation and possibly boundaries later on. Let me close out with a word of encouragement. I pray that you know how valuable and needed you are in this world, in your community, and in the lives of those God has called you to. Your journey to overcoming will never be in vain. There is a version of you that you have not yet met. Try to enjoy the process of transformation. Remember, God is invested in your wholeness, not just having you complete a bunch of missions. Don't get discouraged if those around you are not on the same journey and don't understand the process He's taking you through. God will often isolate those He wants to work on. But know that you're not alone. There are many of us out here on this journey with you all over the world. Keep going until next week.